Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is a patch 1.30.3 note from January 4th. This was posted an hour ago. It is currently 9 p.m. in Amsterdam on Friday the 4th of January. Just came up an hour ago. Servers were down for an hour, so we plan to start our stream right afterwards. And we have some changes. Some AT changes and some balance changes. Let's look at them together and see what we make of it. First off, there's going to be a bug fix. Apparently hardened skin from the mountain giants was bugged. In the tooltip it doesn't say, but we know that hardened skin reduces damage by 12. Mountain giants have a medium armor type that takes bonus damage from normal, like grunts and torrents, but takes reduced damage from piercing and siege. Together with hardened skin, their armor is fairly strong at mitigating ranged damage in particular. And it was apparently reducing it to up to 1 damage. So not a whole lot of damage. As we just paused the alerts for a sec here. So it's going to be 3 now. So 3 times as good when you have lowly upgraded archers, rifles and headhunters. 3 times the damage. I mean, rifles are getting tripled in damage, guys. Of course, when you had rifles with 3 attack upgrades and inner fire, this was not an issue. But for like lowly upgraded rifles against upgraded mountain giants, it was. The second pulse from the taunt ability will no longer fire if the mountain giant is dead or affected by ability disabling effects, so silence or stun. Known issues. Potentially fixed a ranged team to work with port forwarding now, but due to technology constraints, this can only be tested on live, not on PTR. It just went live on all servers, Europe, America, Korea and Asia. We are still homing in on the root cause for various desyncs. Cached data results in mismatches. It's simple, just uncache it. Just clear your cache, then there will not be cache data anymore and there will not be a result in mismatches when switching between game types. Just clear the cache. JK. Anyway, cache data results in mismatches when switching between game types, like custom game and then playing ladder. Restart the game when switching between game types to lower your risk of disconnects. We've also seen the caching issue between some custom maps. Unfortunate that it's still a known issue, but actually we are expected to clear the cache by restarting the game. Balance updates. Keeper of the Grove. Untangling Roots. Cast range decreased from 800 to 600. This takes it from, well, they initiate at 800, but Entangle sometimes is casting at 900 to 1000 because of the, like, I think after 20% of the animation it can't miss anymore. The first 20%, if you go out of range, he will disable the animation and stop and not entangle. But if it is maybe the last 80% of the animation, it looks like really long entangle. So the initial cast range is 800, the effect was like 900 or 1000 sometimes. Now it goes to 600. This has a, so 800 is an arcane tower from human and an orc watchtower. 600 is a ranged hero's auto attack. This change is really, really huge. Chuddy says, I thought only vision loss could stop it. I think you're actually right. I take it as someone goes out of range too far. But most of those times you do lose vision because they are too far. It almost comes down to the same part, but I think you're actually right, Chuddy. So it won't be maybe an actual 200 range loss, more like 175 because of the fringe situations where you lost vision and the 600 doesn't really have a chance of going out of vision because it's closer. Anyway, cast range is decreased by 200. This is really huge. Auto attacks range is much more threatening than Entangle was. This means Dreadlords will hit more sleeps on KOTGs that try to greedily entangle something. DK Lich will get more easy coil novas, more focus fire, more attack damage, while a keeper goes in for an entangle. Hex will be much more forgiving, the Hex timing, easy to get them. Hex already outranged and out-animated entangle, but it's even easier now. Also Mountain King Stormbolt, and just generally exposing himself to more risk from things like Arcane Tower and so on. 800 units is a Watchtower Aviator. 600 is an auto attack. This is a really good nerf. And they say more risk, but no reduced effectiveness. The spell now has the same range as his auto. Counterplay. Great change, great note, really in the right direction. They didn't address Force of Nature, the Strength of Tranquility, the power of Keeper in early game per se with his spells, or his mana forgivingness, but it is still a big deal, and I think it's difficult to say if it's enough. I suspect it's almost enough. Almost. Or maybe just. It's a big deal. We already have been practicing against very tough tools, and it gets a little easier now. Alchemist, Acid Bomb damage reduction. As you can see, a damage reduction of 25% on the main target and 20% on the secondary target. And the percentages of damage reduction gets lower and lower, but it's a consistent damage drop with this one. This one is inconsistent, level 3 is relatively untouched. It's still very strong. In this case, I really feel like it's not enough. I feel they could have dropped it to 5 damage, 10, 15, and it would still be very strong. So I think we'll still see a lot of Alchemist, but just a bit of nerf, just a bit to those using the combo of Alchemist, Healing Spray and Acid Bomb, and Keeper Alchemist in general. I don't think overall it really fully addresses Night Elf's dominance. I think we'll still see 3 elves every top 4 of tournaments for the most part, or at least humans that switch to elf, but we should always applaud changes in the correct direction, and I think these both are very good. Defend will reduce more damage again. Footman Defend has been so-so. I do see some use for it against dedicated ranged armies. When I play Night Elf and I mass archers, they try to defend with Footman, with Defend Footman. You don't really see a lot of headhunters against human. I think the biggest change here is undead versus human. Human has a bit of a worse matchup against undead, and this one will help them out a lot to buy time to get up more towers, while they're throwing footmen away to build towers after fast expo. So I feel like this exactly addresses the correct matchup for human versus undead. There are more Night Elf balance changes. Mountain Giant will go up again in food from 6 to 7. Cargo size means you can only have 2 in a Zeppelin instead of 4. They are hoping to have this make Mountain Giants get masked less, but I saw also some arguments by Night Elf players that said Mountain Giants tank for others, but people still manage to kill Dryads or Archers. So the reason Mountain Giants are masked is because if you are all tanks, then you can never focus the DPS, because there is no DPS. The reason we mask them, because it's that kind of unit. Everything becomes safe, and you need to only protect and micro your heroes, and all staffs are good. And they said Mountain Giants will either be masked or not made at all. I'm not sure I 100% agree with that. I think there is a good point to it, and it's true that masking them protects you, insulates you from taking damage on the wrong thing. But the value of good positioning, good terrain where you fight, squeezed terrain where people can't go around the Mountain Giant, and the value of taunt, especially the double pulse taunt, does make them a better tank than, for instance, a Tauren is, where you can just go around them, though they do more damage. They hope that a few mountain giants will be made sometimes, but not always masked. It is a good change. Their cost is still quite cheap. Bears have not been reverse buffed. 4 damage was quite a big nerf. It was pointed out though that the 4 damage nerf on bears affects unupgraded bears very greatly, 0-0. But if they're 3-3, you barely notice it. So it's mostly base level bears that are nerfed. And they get better late game. So maybe the point is to get bears when you have some upgrades already running into dryads or mountain giants. Vorpal Glaive on Glaive Thrower is an upgrade that it reads in the tooltip: attack a target and cleave in a vertical line backwards. Oh yeah, I said barely. Thanks for laughing, guys. I feel really good about today. It was an unintentional pun. I'll sleep well tonight, thank you. Vorpal Glaive upgrade has been bugged. The tooltip reads cleave vertically behind initial target, but the reality was you can't miss. Normally siege weaponry misses a lot when you move fast or slow, and it does no or very little damage. Vorpal Glaive couldn't miss, so they became an excellent hero focus tool due to their high natural damage. The main target of Glaive Thrower always takes full damage as part of the bug, and the area of effect from the glaive changes from a circle into a line. They're saying that this is a bug, even though you could partially make a case for it with the tooltip, and glaives can kill trees. I don't know why that is bugged. I thought that was intended. The main target takes full damage as if the projectile were a homing shot, but the glaive doesn't follow said target. Instead it hits the ground like it missed. Yeah, they mean the animation of it. Instead it hits the ground like it missed and does line damage where it impacts. This is how it's supposed to work. Line damage where it impacts. Oh, it also hits the ground but does line damage where it impacts. Oh, okay, so they say the way it is working right now, the animation has it missing original location and it hits the ground there. I'm assuming maybe it does damage there as well. And then the line damage originates on the target of impact that was intended to be the target, even if they miss. That's for right now. They're saying if we fix Vorpal Glades to adhere. Last time I read this as well, but I didn't get it because I was reading it in an Italian accent. No, Scottish, Irish. So I didn't read it at all and didn't understand it. So if we fix Vorpal Glaive to adhere to reduce damage of siege weapons to units, then researching the upgrade feels like a nerf, because it exchanges radial damage for line damage. Radial damage is so-so, I think. It doesn't really feel like a nerf, but yeah, they're saying if we fix it, it'll be a nerf. Yeah, I can see how that could feel like a nerf. We do want to address these issues by having the projectile correctly track and impact the main target. So this is the one I take issue with. There were two things that you could do. You could fix the tooltip so that it correctly says Glaive Thrower's upgrade makes it like a seeker missile, which it has never read, but that's how it's working now, so you could do that. Or you could say, we update the tooltip. We leave the tooltip as the original intent, and we update the operation of the glaive so that it hits the point it hits for real. If there is a unit there, it vertically cleaves. And if the unit moves away and there's no unit, no cleave, no radial cleave, and no vertical cleave. I'm in favor of the second one. I don't think siege damage can be correctly balanced when it always hits, because siege damage is very high. No, I know that it has always worked as a seeker missile, Play the Encore. It's always been bugged, but we never really knew or cared because they were so weak damage-wise. Then they got buffed by 40%. Then they nerfed it down 20, so it was still buffed by 20%. They're still really good, and we're starting to realize Vorpal is pretty OP. I feel like they should make the reality reflect the tooltip, but they're saying it like they're going to reflect the tooltip to match the reality and do some kind of fix that mostly keeps it the same. We hope to have glaives tracking their targets and ready for the next balance patch. So I have given this feedback to them that at least my opinion on this. I've told them this already. And I think they should have more people's feedback. Maybe you guys disagree with me. You think it is fun to have one unique siege tool that with an upgrade can track any target and hit them no matter how fast they move or teleport. Maybe that's the easier way to fix. No. So let's get feedback out there for them on this thread. I give you guys the patch notes as well in my Twitch chat. !patch 1.30.3 04 January 2019 Warcraft 3 patch notes. There it is. So if you are a Night Elf player and you wonder where does this leave me, Defend is a little better, Alchemist is a little worse, and Tangle is a little riskier. Mountain Giants cost a little bit more food again, and Glaives, nothing's changing yet, they're just informing us. You can mostly just play the same as you already have. You don't need to worry about it. And a great way to ground yourself after the patch is to play the same. It's easy to say, hey, all kinds of things changed. Let's pretend my head is empty. And for some people that will be true. But, you know, for the smart people here, IQ 40 and higher, you can say, okay, let's just play the same, see how strong that is, and change if needed. And instead of like saying, I'm gonna play different to IQ 41 here, woo, yeah. Instead of saying, I'm gonna play differently because everything is changing and I don't know why. Everything is changing and I don't know why. It's not the same. Understand? It's better to just try the same. And from what I can see, the changes aren't big enough for Night Elves, Mountain Giant, MG, Alchemist strategy of a keeper to change. But if it does change, you could say, okay, you know, this doesn't seem as effective as it used to be. You can just start mixing it up again. Talons had a small buff again. They are a little cheaper. Nature's Blessing AOW is still good. You can go for Demon Hunter Beast Firelord or Demon Hunter Beast Alchemist against Orcs with Mass Talon. I think is pretty strong. You can still play Bears. You can go Keeper Alchemist Mountain Giant or Keeper Alchemist Mass Huntresses is still very, very strong. Expansions are still good. The KOTG range nerf is big though. So if that doesn't work, you can try Demon Hunter Alchemist. You can go some Tavern Heroes first. It's all quite good. Try to find a build order for it. For human, Defend will be a little more worth it again for creeping. Also, like I said, against Undead. Defend Burrow Rushes against Orc can be a little better again. Undead had no changes, but they'll have an easier time going up against MG. A little bit harder time against Defend, but it's not really threatening, it's just it buys time for the human. And Undeads will be happy that Alchemist does less damage, and that Keeper will be far more nukeable than before. For the rest, just to round things off with again, this one, remember, is going to be quite helpful against MGs, and I think it's deserved. It was a bug anyway, they said. And hopefully AT works, so I encourage everyone, if you have pre-purchase Reforged, to try out Warcraft. If you don't know how to play Warcraft now, !download in my Twitch chat. Those people that are already playing and have it installed or they have CD key, same thing. Try it out. Let me know, let Blizzard know whether AT is working. I'm hopeful. In 40 days is Valentine's Day, and I was hoping to play some 2-on-2 with Cassandra. So it would be nice if this is fixed. These things are maybe fixed, they said, but they are struggling with it. Maybe not. They have an explanation here as well, how you can install and play the game. Again, !patch to see this link. Read this all again and get the download links as well. Thanks for watching. This was the patch notes preview of January 4th. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And say hi, Mom, in the chat.